You know him, you love him, and now we have him at VSiN, the Vegas Stats and Information Network. It helps to be connected, and nobody knows more of the bookies in Las Vegas than Brent Musburger. It's My Guys in the Desert with the legend of the guys behind the counter, broadcasting only on the Vegas Stats and Information Network at VSiN.com and SiriusXM Channel 204. Live from the VSiN studios, it's the one and only Brent Musburger.
There are so many things great about Super Bowl weekend. The crowds, like here at the South Point, starting to gather at the sports books. Tourists arrive in Las Vegas for the big weekend, checking out the prop bets, checking out the lines, seeing where they can get the best deal on booze. I got the answer to that one. In about an hour and a half down here at the Grandview Lounge, Anheuser-Busch products, Bud products, $1 a bottle. Come on in. Come on in and listen to my bookmakers. We have got Vinny Magliulo, Chris Andrews. They'll be there. And the gentleman who has joined us right now, former NFL executive, Mr. Michael Lombardi. We talk to him every week. And Vinny and Amal, so nice to have him here in the VSiN studio in person. Welcome, Michael. Great to have you, my friend.
It's great to be back in Vegas. I appreciate it. The town's changed a little bit since the last time I've been here, but it's fun. It's nice.
We've added a few hotel rooms and some betting windows.
I can see that. The Holiday Inn buffet where I used to feed off is no longer there, but that's all good. I'm sure I can find a meal.
We'll get you squared away, Michael. Good to have you with us.
Good to be here.
You know, Michael, Brent brought up a great point in one of the earlier segments about how the players are ready to play the game right now.
Yeah.
You know, and coaches and things like that. Can you tell us what, like, from an executive standpoint, like what are you going through? What are the executives going, like GMs and player personnel people, in conjunction with the staff going through now down there?
When you get ready to play a Super Bowl, everything you do is done at your home base. So when they took off on Sunday to flew to Atlanta, the game plan was done. The rehearsals in terms of the intense practices were done. Now it's fine-tuning, going over it once and again. As an executive, you're pretty much spending most of your time reviewing the Senior Bowl, getting ready for free agency, kind of keeping your distractions in terms of this game out of your mind because you just wear on you. So I'm sure Belichick has spent some time working on the draft a little bit at night, working on other things, because everything they've done has been done, the Rams and the Patriots, because that week you have in between the game is critical to get everything done.
Michael, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Just one little follow-up to that. So let's say that there's a coach or a coordinator who's accepted a job somewhere and things like that. Is that a how does that impact the things for the?
Well, it's a challenge, and I think some of the Patriots coaching staff, when you look at it, Brian Flores, the defensive coordinator, he'll allegedly, quote unquote, will be the head coach.
Come on, Michael. He's going. You and I both know it. Come on, my man.
I know, but what happened to Josh
You're no
McDaniels?
longer an executive. You're now a journalist at VSiN.
What happened to Josh McDaniels kind of kept me a little shy. But then you have Chad O'Shea, who's the offensive.
Good comeback.
You have Chad O'Shea, the offensive coordinator. So Belichick's got a lot of moving parts on his defensive staff, and I think that's actually benefits him. Because what I told him on the phone the other night, I said, this allows you to be the coach. I think what you saw.
Wait a minute. Stop. You talked to the man himself?
Oh, always, yeah.
This week?
You talked? Saturday night, yeah, I talked to him.
God himself.
To God himself.
Now, hold up that ring you're wearing.
I got two of those from him.
Oh, wow, is that one?
This is 53. This is Super Bowl 51. We beat Atlanta 28-3. We came back.
Oh, you had to remember.
And then there's 49 when Malcolm Butler made that play. But what I was saying too, though, Brent, is I think sometimes a head coach allows his staff to kind of get involved and doesn't really. Belichick's always involved. But with this separation, I think what you saw in Kansas City, the way they rushed Patrick Mahomes, the way they were detailed in their rush plan, not a knock on Brian Flores, but you could see that was Belichick. In fact, I said that to him on the phone. I said from the first play of the game, I could tell that was your rush plan. And that's something that from Parcells to Belichick, to stop a quarterback, everybody wants the coverage. When to stop a quarterback, it's about how you rush them.
Yeah, and people around the league call the Belichick effect the sprinkle. Yeah. Because you never know where he's coming from.
Right.
He's there, and just what you think is going to happen, it's always the opposite with him.
Right.
And it causes coaches who go up against him nightmares. Right. And you can speak to that.
No doubt. I mean, look, when you go back and watch the Los Angeles game, you knew Trey Flowers was going to line up over Michael Schoenfeld, their right guard. Terrible, not a good player. Austin Blythe is going to see Trey Flowers a lot this week. He'll see a lot. So the three inside players, Blythe, Sullivan, and Scaffold, are going to get the three best defensive players for the Patriots and try to push that pocket inside. That's the matchup that they've got to win.
Michael, New England's offensive line has been stellar the last 2 weeks in the postseason.
Yeah.
Maybe it was an oversight on my part, but they didn't look as impressive in the first 16 weeks as they had against two quality rush lines in the Chargers and the Kansas City Chiefs. How much pressure can the Rams realistically expect to get up the middle? Because they don't have a true great edge rusher. I know Dante Fowler was a number 3 overall pick by the Jags, but has not lived up to the hype. Can this team really generate a true pass rush against Brady? Because if they don't, I don't think Tom Brady's just too good of a player if you give him time.
Right. I think that's the key to the game, right? David Andrews, the free agent center. Shaq Mason wasn't even invited to the combine, the starting right guard. And Joe Tooney, a player at North Carolina State, a third-round selection. But they've played so well. I think they've only missed 12 plays since week 11 of the season as a unit. So they've played very effectively, these 5 guys. And I think Trent Brown is finally, if you talk to anybody in New England, they feel like Trent Brown, the left tackle, has really kind of matured through the season, not making very many mental mistakes, and has kept his weight down all season. For them to get a left tackle at such a bargain when Nate Solder signed for all that money in New York Giants has been a true testament to the Patriot way, if you will. So that line's played really well. I agree with you. I don't know how much, when you play an underfront in defense the way the Rams do, you can control where they line Donald up by the formations you run. So the Patriots will be very selective in terms of how they formation when they want to run it, how they formation when they want to throw it. Do they want Mason blocking Donald and pass? Can they get a double on them? Or how they do that? I think that'll be the key. Whenever they play J.J. Watt, they always wanted Watt to be to the other side of the football to where they were going to throw it. So what Watt's very good at doing, batting balls down. They could keep Watt's big hands out of the passing lane. So I think you'll see a lot of that. With that under front, it locks Wade into playing to where he has to move the under based on the formation, and that'll tell them where they want to run the football and throw it.
And to Michael's point, look, the Patriots draft a first-round pick on Isaiah Wynn, tackle out of Georgia, expected to come in and be a starter. He tears an ACL. He's unable to go. And this team just continues to just get it done. It doesn't matter who it is.
Yeah, they don't have an excuse. There's no excuses. I mean, it's the next guy up. And I think that's his mentality. It's always been that way. And look, Isaiah Wynn's probably is a good redshirt player, because they'll come back next year. And he may be the left tackle because Trent Brown will be a free agent and make a lot of money.
Can we flip that a little? So now let's talk about the Patriots defense against obviously a younger quarterback who I think Goff's done a terrific job in these two playoff games. He outplayed Drew Brees, if you ask me, with some of the things that he did. What about their offensive line and the challenge or the matchups to the Patriots here, Michael?
The key is pressure in Goff. I mean, when Goff has more than 2.5 seconds to throw the football, he's a different player. And I think the next-gen stats tell you that whenever he is able to have time, the receivers are usually wide open. I think what's fascinating about the Rams that nobody talks about is their drop-back passing game is non-existent. It's all play-action pass. That's what they do. And if the Patriots can make this into a play-action pass game on certain so say they're going to get 10 series in the game. If they can make it a play-action pass game, that's critical. You have to create negative plays. Nobody would believe this, but the Rams are worse at 3rd and 10 than the New York Jets this year. Think about that. The Jets are better at converting 3rd and 10 than the Rams are.
Wow.
It's remarkable, right?
Wow.
Because the Rams are not conducive to playing a drop-back pass game. When everybody knows it's pass and you can rush Blythe and you can rush Sullivan and you can rush Scaffold and you can power Whitfield back, you got a chance to get to Goff. He'll take the check down. But if it's not and he can keep it and he can play Canadian football like he's done, there's games the Rams have less than 7 third downs in a game. They've only had 191 third downs as a team all season, remarkably low. So that's the challenge that Belichick has in front of him. How to create a negative play, how to get him in the 3rd and 10, and then win the game there.
Michael, when I look at this Rams team, there are two key components that one is missing, which is Cooper Kupp.
Right.
I think it's a huge safety valve for Jared Goff. You mentioned Goff's ability when he's got more than 2.5 seconds. But I think for him to truly be effective, Todd Gurley's got to be the catalyst. What do you see from an executive perspective right now? We see Gurley goes for 100 against the Cowboys, has 4 carries, couple of drop passes against the Saints. Is there an injury situation that's not being revealed? What is going on maybe that we're missing from a Gurley's perspective or from the Rams' perspective?
Well, Brent's done a lot of Georgia games, and whenever you did a Georgia game, Gurley was always the best player on the team. But the reason he went a little later in the draft than as great as Gurley is because he has a degenerate knee. Everybody in the league knew that coming out. Now, every medical teams are different. Sure. So there's 7 teams that evaluate a player at a table, and they put a medical grade on him at the combine. And Gurley's knee was degenerate. It's bone on bone. So what the doctors were telling you after the physicals, they were saying, this guy doesn't have a long career. Well, neither do I if he doesn't play well. So those doctors and their long careers are always funny to talk about. So, that makes you think that he's not going to have a second contract. The Rams gave him that second contract, so you feel like they're comfortable. I think this is a knee where it's degenerate. I think last week he felt healthy. Maybe it wasn't as powerful as it needs to be. I think Gurley's going to be a factor in this game. I really do. I think Gurley, 3.5 catches, is a lock. He had 59 for the season. I think they have to get Gurley involved in a passing game for them to be successful because the matchups, whether it's Van Noy, whether it's Hightower, whether it's a Landon Roberts, whether they put Chung down in the box to cover him, that favors Gurley. I think Gurley has to play well.
Michael, the Patriots, this is their 3rd straight trip to the game, but as a team, they've got so much more experience in this setting. How important is that? Obviously, for this game,
I think it's for the preparation the week before. It's really important. I think it's for the players' focus. I mean, we saw at the game in Atlanta when Eugene Robinson, a veteran player, went off the reservation, and it kind of messed up the Falcons' opportunity down there. So I think it's about focus and about preparation. It seems like the Rams have got that pretty well curtailed. I think look, when you can win in New Orleans in that environment and you can handle the pressure, I think you got a pretty mentally tough team. I think this game's going to come down to really their ability to execute and can they stray from their play action pass game? Can they actually do other things and contain this? Not that the Patriots, nobody would think the Patriots have any good pass rush. They've had 6 sacks in the postseason. But when you look at the numbers of the postseason and you look at the regular season, the remarkable play of the Patriots against 2 teams that easily could have been the 1 seed, Kansas City, which was, and the Chargers, which easily could have been the other 1 seed. They dominated both those statistically, even though the Chief game went to overtime. That game was really only close because of the 2 Brady turnovers.
Michael, when you look at the Patriots, you've been in the building there, so you understand this better than anybody. If you were to point to something, what makes this team so great? I get Brady's success. To me, he's the best player to ever play in the National Football League. But when I look at a team like the Warriors, they have prolific three-point shooting. I can point to that. But with New England, they've lost a plethora of coaches over 2 decades. And not to knock those guys, but let's be real here for a minute. They have not had success. I always say, Charlie Weiss owes 50% of his money to Tom Brady. And the reality—
He made a lot of it at Notre Dame.
Absolutely. And, you look at these guys, they come in. It's not just guys that they plug in and they were, bust somewhere else. These are guys that are underwhelming in terms of draft picks. Let's use a guy, Nate Ebner from Ohio State, a rugby player.
Right.
He comes in, he plays on special teams. This guy's a difference maker. Julian Edelman was a quarterback at Kent State. Yeah. This guy's a prolific slot receiver in the NFL. There's something to me that I can't put my finger on that's better about this team and this organization than any in sports. And I know Belichick, to me, is the greatest defensive coach of all time. You go back to his days with the Giants, 2 times in the Super Bowl in 22 and 25 as the DC. He shut down that K-gun offense, was prolific. But it just seems like every time they find a way and are able to adapt and adjust better than anybody.
They really are. It's remarkable. I wrote a column today for The Athletic where I talked about, I think a lot of it is Brady's willingness to be coached. Brady allows Belichick to coach. When you go into a meeting on Wednesday at 8 o'clock and then start the team meeting, and Belichick never raises his voice, very monotone, but he'll call out whomever he has to call out. And his drive for perfection starts with Brady because Brady's got the ball in his hand 90% of the time. So I think Brady's willingness to take coaching. Jeff Van Gundy had a great saying. He said, your best player has to set the tone of intolerance for anything that gets in the way of winning. And that's what Brady does. Brady's ability to really make sure he takes coaching allows Belichick to coach the other players. And that's why they have this ability, and then they define the roles of the player. Like Ebner, nobody thinks Ebner could ever play defense there. Right? And even though most of the secondary coach doesn't really want to count Ebner as a safety, there's 4 guys that are always counted in the kicking game on their roster, whether it's Ebner, Jonathan Jones was one of those guys. It's happened all over the league. They've done that. And so that's just Belichick being Belichick because he truly believes, like the great Bill Snyder, you build teams through the kicking game.
Michael, give me a player or scenario, a situation for either team that may come into play that we're not talking about, not a skill position. We obviously know the skilled players and the coaching staff. And give me an intangible that you think is going to come to light here for each of these teams, or would need to for them to be successful.
I think Trey Flowers is an X factor that the Rams have to be aware of. I think Trey Flowers over Austin Blythe, the right guard, or whether he's over Scatfield, the left guard. And their inside guys, whether it be Adam Butler from Vanderbilt or Lawrence Guy or Malcolm Brown. I think those four guys inside have to be a huge factor for the Patriots. And I think the matchup of where they put those players will be critical. And then I think for the Rams, I think it's cliche-ish to say, but Donald's got to play really well. Donald's got to play well. And I think what you have to notice in the game is when Donald's not in the game, you'll see the Patriots hold the ball longer and try to throw it up the field more. And I think the other thing, there's a misconception about this game that I don't think people really understand. Wade plays more zone than he plays man. He's 98% cover 3 in this game. He plays under cover 3. Typically early in the season, he played under cover 1. But because he got burnt so badly, he's more of a zone team now. And I think Gronk will have a huge day. I think Gronk will be able to use that big body and be able to get down the seams, much like Brent's favorite player, Mitchell Trubisky, had guys wide open that was unable to hit them. And if you go back and watch that tape, there was huge plays there, and that was against zone. And Trey Burton had a big day, or could have even had a bigger day.
Got it.
Plus, the Patriots have the best coin toss selector in the game, Matthew Slater.
He lost. We lost the one. We actually had to play Denver in 2016 before this Super Bowl because we won the toss against the Jets and we deferred in overtime. And the Jets, we had them backed up. We played a defensive game. We had them backed up, 3rd and 11, and Quincy Enunwa caught a flat route. And we missed the tackle. Tavon Wilson missed the tackle, and Enunwa went down the sideline. We lost that game in overtime.
Remember that game?
Who's the visiting team?
The Patriots.
So they get to call this flip.
Yep.
So they will call heads.
I would think so. And, it's going to be an interesting thing.
He always calls heads.
He always calls heads. I think in this game, Belichick shocked the world by taking the ball first.
He may take it here, too.
I think he might take it here, too, Brent.
Yeah. First of all, if you can grind out first downs in this game and keep the ball away from the Rams, why not see if you can do it?
Right. And the best time to do it is the first drive of the
Absolutely.
game when they won't. The interesting matchup of this game is how does Wade handle 21 personnel? 2 backs in the backfield, Devlin, and whether it's Devlin or White or Devlin and Sonny Michel.
He's working overtime trying to figure that out.
Because here's what's going to happen. It isn't going to be that he's worried about the run. He's going to be worried about when McDaniels takes Devlin and puts him over here away from everybody, and you still got to cover him. And then he takes White and puts him on the other side and goes empty. And he's in base personnel, and now he's going to throw his offense out there. Now, how are you playing that? You're playing zone, and you're dropping the spots, but you got guys that aren't comfortable. If you want to play man, you got to put somebody out there on Devlin, whether it's Littleton, whether it's Barron. And then Brady, who's smart, knows, okay, Littleton's out there covering Lover. I got it.
Mike, I don't know that they'll send Devlin out until they find out what the offensive line is able to do against Sue.
I think that's a good point.
And Donald.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think Devlin's going to be
on. They might put him out to the tackles to watch if he has to help protect. But then if the offensive line is able to handle them, and Donald, you're going to have to double a lot. You and I both know that. I mean, he's as good as it gets, and we'll see if Sue's going to be as good as he's been in the last couple of games. But when you go back and watch the Patriots tape, Devlin's a hell of a blocker.
He's really good. He was a defensive tackle at Brown.
Up, and so we shall see what they come up with. Listen, looking forward to having you.
I'm looking forward to it.
On the podium, my friend.
Yes, I am too.
And I know that the guys will have a lot of good questions for you, and we will. That's Buds with Brent and Michael and Vinny and Chris. That's coming up in just a little over an hour in the Grandview Lounge. And since we expect standing room only at the South Point, they're going to simulcast it in the race book, which is right outside. So drop on by because I think you have just heard that no one knows the inside of a football game, especially with the Patriots, quite like Michael Lombardi.
Thank you.
And I know that he will never, ever forget that I thought that Mitch Trubisky was an underrated quarterback.
It's the Chicago in you, Brent. You can't. Just like you will never let me forget tomorrow if the Patriots lose. I know I'm going to get a little.
I bet the Patriots.
Oh, you did?
I gave the 2.5. Now, full disclosure, Michael, full disclosure. I'll tell you about it. I'm looking for the middle. I'm waiting for one of my favorite bookies, whether it's Vinny and Chris or Art Monteris. They lock down on 3. And I'm going Rams plus 10. And I haven't quite made up my mind yet on the over-under when I move my 7, whether I'm going to go down or go up. You know, it's a dangerous game to go under with these two dudes, but with these two offenses. But I'm already in. I'm already in. And if it doesn't get there, I'll sit and I'll ride with the Patriots. I think the Patriots are going to win, but I think it's going to be close, and I think it's going to be tough.
I thought it was 20. I called it. I think it's 28-24.
I called 27-24.
Did you really? I have a really good friend who's in the industry, and I sent him a text. I can't give away his first name,
Right.
And I call him Adamas.
Just give us his last name.
He called it 31-14.
Patriots?
Yeah.
Whoa.
31-14.
Whoa. Maybe I better rethink that plus 10. Anyway.
I do. I was just throwing it out there. Do with it what you want. As someone once said, only bet
found
as much as you want to win.